Jungkook sat on the edge of his bed, fingers loosely curled around the fabric of his sweatpants. The room was dim, the only light coming from the city skyline beyond his window. His thoughts churned, relentless and unforgiving. The disappointment in his Tae's eyes. Jungkook exhaled sharply, rubbing his palms over his face. Why did he always do this? The fear of losing Tae gnawed at him, irrational yet persistent. He knew deep down that Tae had never given him a reason to doubt. And yet, the anxiety clung to him like a shadow, whispering worst-case scenarios he couldn't silence. What if the lipstick was for him? The realization struck like a slow-moving wave, filling him with a quiet shame. He had let his insecurities dictate his reaction, and now, Tae was probably questioning everything. Jungkook pushed himself up abruptly, his chest tightening. This wasn't healthy. If he kept letting his fears spiral, it would ruin them. He needed to fix it before it became something neither of them could control. He grabbed his laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. His search was hesitant at first, vague terms filling the screen. Then, his gaze sharpened. He scrolled through names, descriptions, credentials. Tae leaned back in his chair, phone pressed to his ear. "Ryan, come on, man. Just one night, you sound like you need it." Tae sighed, rubbing his temple. "Not tonight, Ryan. I have too much on my plate." Ryan hesitated. "You sure? You sound off." "I'm fine," Tae said, though the weight in his voice betrayed him. "Just work pressure. Nathaniel Corporation is in a mess right now." Ryan hummed in understanding. "All right, but if you change your mind, you know where to find me." Tae disconnected the call, his gaze drifting to his laptop screen. The stock market figures flashed before him. Nathaniel Corporation's shares were dropping. His stomach twisted. A notification popped up, urge a meeting. Addressing market decline tomorrow morning. Tae exhaled sharply. Of course. Tae stared at his laptop screen. Titan Motors. It wasn't just about an investment plan for Nathaniel Corporation, it was about Jungkook. Jungkook, who once stood at the helm of Korea's automotive empire, ready to inherit an empire of roaring engines and sleek designs. Jungkook, who had sacrificed everything: his name, his legacy, his place in a family that had carved his fate for him, all for love, for Tae. And for what? For exile? For rejection? Tae pressed his lips together, his jaw tightening. Not on his watch. Jungkook's talent was far too great to be discarded like this. He had an unmatched mind for automobiles, a vision, an instinct that no amount of corporate bloodlines could manufacture. And if his own father had shut the door on him, Tae would open another, a better one. His fingers moved swiftly, composing the request to Nathaniel's investment team. Titan Motors was seeking partners. This was it. This was the opportunity Jungkook deserved. A place where his expertise could thrive without the shackles of a name that no longer welcomed him. And Tae wasn't doing this as a businessman. He was doing it as the man who loved him. His grandfather had already given his blessing, the nod of approval that carried weight far beyond simple permission. It was a promise. A promise that Jungkook had a home here, that Tae's world would always make space for him, no matter who had turned their backs. As Tae sent the request, his chest swelled with something deep. This was his gift to Jungkook, not in ribbons, not in vows, but in action. For their future, for the life they were building, brick by brick. Though their argument had sparked over something as trivial as a forgotten lipstick, sending them momentarily in separate directions, the irony was that even in distance, they remained deeply intertwined. In the quiet of their own spaces, yet within the same shared world, they were unknowingly consumed by thoughts of each other, each making silent moves for the other's sake. There was the quiet beauty of their love woven so seamlessly into their lives that neither truly grasped how effortlessly they kept choosing one another. Tae closed his laptop and pushed himself up from the chair, his fingers curling around the cold metal railing of the balcony. His eyes wandered aimlessly across the street, settling on the blonde neighbor girl, fumbling clumsily with her keys, trying to shove them into the door's lock. Her movements were sluggish, uncoordinated. Was she drunk? or lost in some other high. She caught his gaze, her tired eyes crinkling as she managed a wavering smile. Tae sighed, offering a small wave in return, though his mind had already drifted elsewhere. 1 o'clock a.m. The time struck something inside him, pulling up memories from just hours ago. Jungkook's face, twisted in frustration, the sharp edge of disappointment lingering between them. His Rue had wanted to say something before he walked away, had tried, but Tae had stopped him. He murmured softly to himself, almost as if Jungkook could hear it through the walls. "You have no idea how much Tae loves you, baby." Tae exhaled, steadying himself. Without another thought, he picked up his laptop and headed downstairs, his quiet steps leading him toward Jungkook's room. The air felt cooler here, heavier. He hesitated for just a second before carefully pushing open the door. Jungkook was asleep. Tae moved softly, the dim light casting gentle shadows across the bed. He slipped in beside him, crawling under the blanket Jungkook had wrapped himself in. Closer now, Tae's gaze traced the familiar contours of Jungkook's face, the strands of jet black hair, curling slightly at the ends, spilling over his skin like ink, his lips, slightly parted, the small piercing catching a stray gleam of light. Beautiful always. Tae leaned in, pressing a quiet kiss against Jungkook's cheek, then nestled further, pulling him close, arm draping protectively over him. He kissed the back of his head, a whisper escaping in the hush of the night. "My babe." And with that, Tae let sleep claim him, his body curled around Jungkook, as if shielding him from whatever storm had raged inside his mind. Jungkook stirred slightly, his breath hitching as he felt the warmth of Tae against him, his eyes, damp with unshed tears, opened just enough to take in the quiet figure beside him. His Tae, who loved him so deeply, so unwaveringly, and he had doubted that love. He cursed himself silently, guilt settling deep. His voice was barely audible, lost in the dark between them, but it carried every ounce of his conviction. "I'll fix this, Tae." And as he let his eyes close again, he knew he would. Crisp morning air carried the hurried steps of Alex as he rushed down the grand entrance, catching sight of Reginald just as he was stepping into his car. "Reg, wait, drop me at the store, will you?" Reginald paused, hand resting on the car door. He glanced over his shoulder before giving a curt nod, allowing Alex to slip into the passenger seat beside him. As the engine hummed to life, Reginald's gaze flickered toward Alex. "Where's your car?" Alex leaned back, a teasing smile playing at the corner of his lips. "I'm greedy for your time and attention, Reg. Humor me." Reginald smirked, shaking his head slightly, his gaze shifting to the passing scenery outside. Alex watched him for a moment before pulling out his tablet, fingers gliding over the screen. "Reg, take a look. This is the wedding suit I designed for our Nate," he said, eyes lighting up with enthusiasm, still working on Jungkook's. Reginald glanced at the display, a refined masterpiece of elegance, tailored to perfection. The deep hues, intricate embroidery, and structured silhouette spoke of quiet luxury, commanding attention without excess. Reginald mused, "Quite impressive." He leaned back, arms crossing as he gave Alex a pointed look. "And here I thought you hadn't spared a thought for my suit." Alex chuckled, nudging closer, fingers swiping again before turning the tablet toward him. "There you go," he revealed, "another stunning design. For my love. You think I'd forget something this important?" His voice softened, lingering between sentiment and professionalism. "Do you like it? You need to come in for a fitting, Reg, please." Alex's fingers curled around Reginald's hand, his grip gentle but insistent. Reginald exhaled, withdrawing slightly. "I will, Alex, not now, though I have back-to-back meetings." Alex nodded, masking his slight disappointment with ease. "All right, let me know. Jungkook and Nate are stopping by today." Reginald turned toward him fully this time, his expression firm, gaze sharp. "My darling," he said, voice lower now, edged with authority, "keep Tae out of your wedding chaos. I need his full attention on work. You understand me?" Alex held his gaze, the unspoken weight behind those words settling between them. He inhaled, steadying himself before nodding. "Sure, Reg, I'll keep that in mind." Reginald gave a slow, approving nod before turning back to the road, the conversation slipping into silence as the car glided forward. Morning passed in silence, their movements close but their words absent. Tay stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie, while behind him, Jungkook stepped out of the shower, droplets of water still tracing lazy paths down his skin. He moved toward the wardrobe, fingers skimming along the fabric, searching, but his mind seemed distant, unfocused. Tay watched him for a beat, then silently pulled out a shirt, reaching forward to hand it over. Jungkook paused, eyes locking with Tae's, something unspoken passing between them, a hesitation, a question, a quiet acknowledgement. Without a word, Jungkook took the shirt from him, fingers brushing lightly over Tae's before pulling back. Tae turned away, stepping out of the room, making his way toward the kitchen. If words failed them now, actions had to speak louder. The clinking of dishes filled the air as Tae placed breakfast on the table. As he settled into his chair, his phone lit up, the voicemail playing automatically, breaking the stillness. Fiona's voice drifted through first, crisp and efficient, detailing project updates. Then came Sierra, her tone warm, respectful. "Sir, how are you? Also, a reminder, the morning appointment with the client has been confirmed. Reginald will be joining you as well." Jungkook emerged from the room, buttoning his cuffs, catching the tail end of Sierra's voice. It faded into the quiet as he approached, his expression unreadable. Tae glanced up at him, his voice gentle. "Come sit, baby." Jungkook complied, settling across from him, the space between them filled with something delicate, hesitation, unspoken emotions, love quietly enduring despite the strain. Tae took a sip of his coffee, eyes flicking toward Jungkook. "Alex wanted us to stop by the store today," Jungkook murmured, careful, testing the waters. Tae exhaled slowly, shaking his head. "Not today, Rue. I've got more important things to handle, you go ahead." Jungkook nodded, understanding but not pushing further. Tae finished eating first, standing to gather his things. He glanced at Jungkook, still sitting there, quietly finishing his meal. "Baby, want me to drop you off at his place?" Tae offered, voice softer now. Jungkook shook his head. "No." Tae nodded once, adjusting his watch. "All right, I'll get going." Jungkook nodded back, his movements small, subdued. Tae walked to the door, mind racing with thoughts that clashed against the silence. "Rue, why won't you smile? Just once. You know I need your hug. I want to kiss you." His fingers wrapped around the doorknob, then, suddenly, Jungkook's hand covered his. They turned toward each other, eyes searching, contemplating. And then a quiet surrender. Jungkook leaned forward, pressing a feather-light kiss to Tae's lips. Tae's body tensed, every instinct urging him to drop everything, to pull Jungkook closer, to drown himself in the taste of him, in the heat of his skin, in the love that begged to be reaffirmed. But the phone rang, the name flashing on the screen. Reginald. Tae exhaled sharply, reality yanking him back, the moment shattered. Jungkook stepped back, voice quiet, steady. "Pick it up, Tae. Must be important." Tae swallowed down his reluctance, nodding as he accepted the call, the weight of it settling on his shoulders. "Take care, Rue," he murmured, stepping out, climbing into the car. Jungkook stood at the doorway, watching as Tae drove away, the distance between them stretching once more. And then he shut the door. Later at the store, Alex spread the wedding costume sketches across the table, his voice lively as he explained the theme, but Jungkook, he wasn't engaged. He just stared, blank, silent, his thoughts tangled elsewhere. Alex sighed, hands resting on his hips. "Where's Nate, Jungkook?" Jungkook barely shifted, busy. The word came out quiet, almost detached. Alex glanced at one of his assistants. "Take his measurements." Jungkook didn't object, letting them work, but Alex had other plans. He stepped away, phone already in hand. Tae needed to be summoned, and what better excuse than stirring the pot? To his surprise, Tae answered immediately. "What's it, Alex?" Alex grinned. Hey, Nate, how's my favorite groom? Tay exhaled sharply. Cut the crap, Alex. I'm doing very well. Alex chuckled, voice smooth with intent. Well, your Rue is here, and let me admit, Nate, he is hot, especially that piercing. Silence. Then, a shift. Tay leaned in slightly, pressing the phone closer to his ear. He shouldn't react. He shouldn't let Alex pull him in. But damn it, he felt it. The spark of possessiveness, the craving, the urge to shut this conversation down before Alex had a chance to make it worse. Then came Tay's voice, low and edged with warning. He probably knows martial arts too. Keep your hands off my bloke, Alex, or I'll personally see to it that you regret it. Alex grinned, sensing the shift in Tay's tone, the impatience, the edge. Relax, Nate, I'm only admiring. But you know, Alex paused, watching Jungkook. I miss the days when you actually gave me attention. Tay huffed, his fingers curling slightly against the desk. Come to the store already. You need to see what I've designed for your big day. Tay was ready to fire back, ready to shut him down. And then he heard it. Jungkook's voice, soft, familiar, unintended. A voice that could wreck him effortlessly. Tay's body reacted before his mind did, his breath hitching, his grip tightening around the phone. Rue. God, what was this man doing to him? Alex caught it, knew the effect it had. Smirking, he played his final card. Will you come, Nate? The line clicked off. Tay leaned back, staring at the phone as if willing it to ring again. The sound of Jungkook's voice still clung to him, wrapping itself around his thoughts, his veins, his hunger. His hand pressed against his forehead. He breathed out slowly, I'm going crazy. The craving curled inside him, restless and unbearable. He needed to see Jungkook. He needed to kiss him. He needed to feel him. The desire hit hard, unwilling to be ignored. Tay slammed the intercom. Sierra. She appeared instantly. Sir? Tay swallowed, trying to sound normal. Anything scheduled in the next hour? No, sir. That was enough. He pushed up from his chair, grabbing his phone. I'll be back soon. Sierra barely had time to react before he was slipping into his blazer, rushing out the door. Alex strode toward Jungkook, a smirk playing at his lips. He knew Tay too well. And he knew, without a doubt, that Tay would come. He positioned himself in front of Jungkook, feigning focus as he instructed the team on measurements, but beneath the surface, his thoughts hummed with something far more personal. You have no idea how lucky you are, Jungkook. Nate is completely gone for you. I hope you see it. This isn't who he used to be, not before you. His gaze settled on Jungkook, watching, studying, as a slow smile curled his lips. I envy you. I want to see him struggle. I don't want you to last. But Jungkook, blissfully unaware, simply returned the smile. Alex turned his attention back to the staff. I need his proper measurements. His build is perfect, slim, but strong, a little tighter around the waist. As he spoke, his hand instinctively brushed Jungkook's waist. Then, the moment shattered. The door swung open. Tay stepped inside. Jungkook flinched, surprised by the sudden arrival, but Alex, he had been expecting this. Well, welcome, Junior, Alex drawled. But Tay wasn't listening. His gaze cut past Alex entirely, fixing solely on his hand, the one now retracting from Jungkook's waist. Something in his stance shifted, quiet, restrained, dangerous. Can I get some time alone with Jungkook? Tay's voice was steady, but his eyes held an edge that left no room for refusal. The staff quickly dispersed. Alex smirked, exuding ease. Of course, Nate, anything for you. His hand casually tapped Tay's shoulder before stepping out, but the tension lingered, thick as ever. Jungkook stood still, his gaze flicking between Tay and the now locked door. Tay turned, finally facing him, truly seeing him. His eyes traced Jungkook's frame, traveling across every detail, the fresh crispness of his shirt, the soft strands of damp hair, and finally, settling on his lips, that piercing. It caught the light just right, and it wrecked Tay all over again. Heat coiled low in his stomach, unbearable, unrelenting. Jungkook blinked, confused by the intensity in Tay's stare. Tainy, What's the matter? His voice was soft, tentative. But Tay didn't answer, at least not yet. Not when he couldn't think straight. Not when he was drowning in him. Tay took a slow step forward, closing the space between them, his eyes locked on Jungkook's lips. Jungkook felt the twist in his stomach, the unmistakable pull of anticipation. His breath hitched, his fingers trembling slightly as Tae's gaze darkened. And then Tae moved. There was no hesitation, no restraint. His lips crashed against Jungkook's, urgent, hungry, like he had been starving for this moment. Jungkook gasped, his hands instinctively crawling up Tae's chest, feeling the solid warmth beneath his palms. The kiss deepened, raw and consuming, Tae's hold tightening around Jungkook's waist, his body pressing him against the desk. Jungkook's hands found their way up Tae's chest, exploring the contours of his body as he pulled him closer, fingers sliding to cradle Tae's face. He opened his mouth willingly, an invitation for Tae to delve deeper, to explore the depths of their connection. Their breaths mingled, coming in gasps, punctuated by soft moans that echoed in the stillness of the room. Tae, Jungkook gasped, his breath hitching as Tae pulled away, their eyes locking, Tae's lips parting slightly, tasting the lingering traces of Jungkook's. A flicker of something unreadable passed through Tae's gaze before he glanced upwards, catching sight of the CCTV camera perched above them. Without hesitation, he reached for Jungkook's hand, fingers wrapping firmly around his wrist as he led him swiftly toward another door. The room was dim, lined with lockers, silent witnesses to their urgency. The lock clicked behind them. Jungkook stumbled back onto the couch as Tae loosened his tie with a slow, deliberate pull, the fabric slipping free from his collar. Then, with a quiet certainty, he wound it around Jungkook's wrists, bringing them together with a precise knot. Jungkook's breath came shallow, his pulse skipping. Tae, what is this? His voice trembled with a mix of surprise and intrigue. Tae said nothing. He only tightened the knot, securing it in place before pressing Jungkook further into the cushions. I swear, if you don't take me Rue right this second, I'll go insane. Jungkook closed his eyes, his heartbeat a frantic pulse in his chest, his stomach twisting tight, his face his small, knowing smile told Tae everything he needed to hear. The room was silent except for Tae's breath, shallow and urgent, then the soft rasp of a zipper, the metallic clink that sent a shiver racing through Jungkook's spine. His bound wrists were tugged forward, and instinctively, his fingers curled into Tae's shirt, clinging. Tae pressed in, his crotch mere inches away, his warmth sinking into Jungkook's skin. Jungkook felt the intoxicating warmth, the scent that clung to his senses. His breath hitched as his lips parted, surrendering, welcoming the one who had already claimed him in ways beyond words. Taehyung's breath hitched as he watched Jungkook take him in completely, a primal hunger igniting between them. Rue, he breathed, a mixture of passion and urgency in his voice. You have no idea how good that feels. He gasped, his voice thick with desire. Don't stop, just like that. Jungkook's eyes darkened with lust as he held Taehyung's gaze. It feels incredible, Taehyung moaned, his hips instinctively pushing forward. I want more, I need more of you. With each movement, Jungkook drove Taehyung wild, a mix of pleasure and desperation coursing through him. Taehyung panted, just let me feel everything, my love. Tae, Jungkook murmured, increasing the pace, drawing out every sound of pleasure from Taehyung. Yes, just like that. Don't hold back, Taehyung cried out, lost in the overwhelming sensations, surrendering to the raw intensity of the moment. You make me feel alive. Tae pushed further, his breath uneven, curses slipping past his lips in raw abandon. Jungkook's name tumbled out in fragments, broken, desperate until the word baby escaped, unguarded, like a prayer repeated in reverence. Jungkook's bound hands, once clinging to Tae's shirt, were gathered in a firm grip held with certainty, controlled. Tae's other hand slid behind Jungkook's head, fingers threading through soft strands, grounding him, claiming him. Tae's voice was raw, strained, a plea tangled in a groan. Oh, FCAC Ru, break me off. The words barely left his lips before Jungkook responded, his movements quickening, driven by the command. And then, it happened. Tae's grip tightened, a fistful of Jungkook's hair pulled taut, grounding him, claiming him. His other hand closed around Jungkook's tied wrists, possessive, unwavering, holding him there in the moment. A soft, breathy moan escaped Taehyung's lips as he lost himself in the moment, filling Jungkook's mouth with an overwhelming wave of pleasure. Jungkook pulled away, the movement deliberate, leaving behind a lingering softness. His breath was steady now, it glided free as his gaze lifted, locking onto Tae's. Tae exhaled slowly, steadying his breath before tightening his hold on Jungkook's bound wrists. He pressed them firmly against the couch, arms stretched above his head, the soft fabric cradling his skin. He leaned in, his gaze locked onto Jungkook's, voice hushed. It was for you, Ru. I wanted to see it on you, painted against your lips. Tae's voice wavered slightly, his fingers curling as he swallowed the confession thick in his throat. And I wanted to taste it too, you, with that color, with that softness. I imagined it, craved it, but then you questioned me. God, baby, you made me feel ashamed for it. Words spilled out all at once, unguarded, raw. A dull ache settled in Jungkook's chest, regret, sharp and unrelenting. He shouldn't have doubted Tae. How had it come to this? The thought gnawed at him, twisting inside. But then Tae's voice, low, steady, pulling him back like an anchor, fingers traced along his cheek, warm and grounding. Ru, soft and familiar, wrapped around him like a whisper meant only for him. It was all it took. The haze lifted. And then, Taehyung's hand gripped him firmly, the heat of his touch sending a rush of desire through Jungkook. The pressure was intense, making every nerve in his body come alive as he instinctively leaned into that electrifying connection, craving more. Tae, we should go. Jungkook's voice was breathless, edged with urgency. Tae smirked, unshaken. We're not done, baby. Jungkook's gaze followed him, watching the deliberate descent, his movements slow, knowing. He let himself surrender, let Tae take control. Tae always knew the hunger, the need that lived beneath Ru's quiet restraint. And Tae was nothing if not patient, a measured explorer, a relentless satisfier, every motion calculated, yet bold, loud, unapologetic. He indulged himself completely, unhurried, unrushed, taking what was his. It began with a slow trail of kisses, soft, lingering, then a sharp inhale loud enough to make Jungkook's breath hitch, heat creeping to his cheeks. He never quite got used to that, the way Tae took in every part of him so shamelessly. Then came the teasing, the unhurried play, a deliberate dance of control and surrender, each touch, each motion, stretching time between them. And then finally, Tae took him, claiming the moment, letting Jungkook feel the heat, the unrelenting pull. With a slow, deliberate movement, Taehyung pushed Jungkook to the brink, sending him spiraling into euphoria. You taste incredible, Taehyung breathed, his voice low and filled with raw desire. Just let go. Jungkook's breath hitched, a guttural sound escaping him as he lost himself in Taehyung's rhythm. Tae, God, yes, he gasped, his body arching in response. Don't stop, I need you just like this. The unrelenting pace ignited every nerve ending, pushing Jungkook past restraint, past hesitation. He moaned, his voice trembling with longing, you're everything I want. Taehyung locked eyes with him, the connection electric. Feel every bit of it, Ru, he murmured, intensifying his movements. Let me take you higher. Jungkook's breath quickened, a mix of pleasure and desperation flooding his senses. Tae, please, I'm so close, he whimpered, lost in the overwhelming sensations that consumed him. Don't stop. Tae, his name tore free, a raw plea, desperate and unrestrained. Jungkook's fingers tightened, curling into strands of hair, holding on. His bound wrists struggled against the knot, his body trembling with release, and Tae's steadfast, unwavering soothed him, his palm traced over young Jungkook's chest, then lower, a calming touch anchoring him. And with one final lingering kiss, Tae pulled away. Tae sat on the couch, fingers expertly sliding his tie into place, looping, pulling, tightening, methodical, effortless. Beside him, Jungkook sat quietly, eyes lowered, fingers twisting together in his lap. Without looking, Tae spoke, "Rue, are you really going to sit there like that? You know you can look at me." Jungkook exhaled, lifting his gaze, but his voice was small, uncertain. "It's different this time. It's public." And Alex. Tae let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head as he tugged Jungkook to his feet, wrapping him in a firm embrace. "Then don't face him," Tae murmured, his warmth pressing into Jungkook's skin, his lips brushing against the top of his head. Jungkook melted into the moment, fingers curling slightly against Tae's waist. "I have to go, Rue," Tae whispered, "though I'd rather stay here holding you." Jungkook nodded reluctantly, pulling back just enough for Tae's hand to lift his fingertips, tracing the shape of Jungkook's lips, pausing at the piercing, tracing it with quiet reverence. "I love you, my love." Jungkook caught Tae's hand, bringing it to his lips before whispering against his skin, "I love you too, Tae." Across the room, Alex sat slumped in his chair, jaw set tight, eyes dark. He had seen it all, the whispered words, the way Tae held Jungkook like he belonged to him, and now, his mind ran wild, tracing scenes he hadn't witnessed but could easily imagine. No one understood how much it pinched, how much it burned to watch Tae in love, Tae happy. As Tae stepped out of the store, he hesitated for just a moment, just long enough to let his gaze drift to Alex, a smirk, slow, deliberate, knowing. Jungkook followed, lingering in the doorway as his eyes flicked briefly to Alex before turning back to Tae. Then, he was gone. Tae reached for his car, pausing as his gaze settled on Jungkook. "Can I go, babe?" Jungkook smiled, nodding, but instead of stepping back, he inched closer, his finger lifting toward Tae's face as if he'd spotted something there. Tae stilled, waiting. Jungkook reached up, pinching something invisible between his fingers, inspecting it like it was real. Tae's eyes flickered between Jungkook's fingers and his face, skepticism creeping in. He knew there was nothing there. His lips curled into a knowing smirk, gaze heavy with unspoken amusement. "Liar." Jungkook bit his lip, caught in the act, but before he could step away, Tae moved, pressing him against the car. "Tae, we're literally outside, in public," Jungkook murmured, voice just above a whisper. Tae tilted his head, mischief dancing in his eyes. "Oh, really, love?" His body lingered against Jungkook's, unbothered, reveling in the moment. Jungkook exhaled sharply, pushing him just enough to make him step back. "Leave already." Tae chuckled, the sound deep, amused, before finally slipping into the driver's seat, his gaze lingering on Jungkook for just a second longer. As Tae drove away, Jungkook stood by the curb, watching until the car disappeared around the corner, the lingering warmth of their moment wrapped around him, a mix of excitement and longing settling in his chest. With a sigh, he turned to head back inside, but not before casting one last glance down the street. Tae had a way of turning the ordinary into something extraordinary, and Jungkook wished he could hold onto that feeling just a little longer. Inside the store, Alex remained in his chair, fingers strumming against his knee. His gaze was sharp, unreadable, but beneath the surface, a storm brewed, one Jungkook couldn't quite see. "Did you enjoy the moment, Jungkook?" Jungkook turned slowly, catching the edge of something in Alex's tone, not quite sarcastic, but calculated. He narrowed his eyes. "It's none of your business, Alex." Alex smiled faintly, standing and walking toward him with an easy, almost friendly demeanor. "I'm not here to meddle, you know." He stopped just short of Jungkook, "Just watching out for you." Jungkook stiffened slightly. "I don't need looking after." Alex tilted his head, voice soft, as if weighing each word carefully. "No, I suppose not. You're strong, smart, but love," he chuckled lightly, shaking his head, "it has a way of making even the strongest fools, doesn't it?" Jungkook narrowed his gaze. What are you trying to say? Alex exhaled, hands resting on the edge of the table, casual yet precise in his approach. I just hope Tay sees that too, that he knows how rare it is to have someone like you. He let the words hang, but then again, he's a busy man. Jungkook felt a shift, a small prickle of unease. He does know, and we're good. Alex hummed and thought, as if contemplating something deeper. I believe you, it's just, his eyes flickered with something unreadable before he smiled again. Sometimes people get caught up in the grandness of things, the success, the work, the attention. Love might feel strong now, but what about when real life kicks in, when you stop being the exciting part of his day? Jungkook's stomach twisted. Tay isn't like that. Alex leaned back, watching him closely. I truly hope so, Jungkook. A pause. Because you deserve something solid, something that doesn't leave you questioning if you matter. Jungkook swallowed, his hands curling slightly at his sides. Why was this conversation making him feel cold? Alex sighed, stepping back, his posture loose. Just promise me one thing? Jungkook clenched his jaw. What? Alex smiled a knowing, almost too kind smile. If you ever feel like you need space to figure things out, don't be afraid to take it. Love should feel safe, not like something you need to hold on to for dear life. Jungkook exhaled slowly. I don't need space. But Alex's words lingered. They dug deep, creeping into the corners of his mind in ways Jungkook wished they wouldn't. Jungkook retreated to the back room, leaning against the wall. His breathing was slow, controlled, but his mind wasn't. Alex's words echoed. Success, attention, excitement. Was that why Tay loved him? No, it wasn't. And yet, a part of him felt it. The fear, the anxiety, the creeping uncertainty, the same things that had led him to consider therapy before. His hand trembled slightly as he pulled out his phone, staring at the screen. He wanted to text Tay, wanted reassurance. But would that make him weak? Would that make him clingy? Just as he was about to put the phone away, a message popped up. Hey, Rue. Just wanted to say I'm thinking about you. Can't wait to see you. Jungkook's chest warmed, relief washing over him. His fingers hovered before he typed back. Me too. I miss you already. The doubts eased, but didn't fully disappear. Not yet. And as Jungkook shut his phone, taking a slow, steady breath, one thought remained. Maybe he should book that appointment after all. Jungkook sat in the waiting area, fingers curled into the fabric of his jeans, his mind a battlefield. One part of him screamed, go back home. You don't need this, you're fine. But the other, the part drenched in anxiety, in fear, whispered back, you'll lose him, Jungkook. If you don't fix this, if you don't fix yourself, what if Tae distances? What if he gives up? The thought terrified him. Losing Tae wasn't an option, not now, not ever. So when his number was called, he stood, feet unsteady, but his resolve firm. The office was modern, minimalistic, clean lines, soft tones designed to make the mind breathe. Jungkook stepped inside, eyes landing on the man seated at the desk. Min Yoonji. The name had drawn him in first. It was familiar, home-like, a Korean name, someone from his country, someone who, maybe, wouldn't feel like a stranger when he spilled things he didn't even want to admit to himself. Yoonji lifted his gaze, setting down his pen as he took in Jungkook's presence, sharp eyes, but steady, calm, unbothered, the kind of presence that could coax words out of silence without force. Then, a smile, genuine. Jungkook, right? Yoongi's tone was low, smooth, completely unrushed. Jungkook nodded, his throat suddenly dry. He should say something, but his words refused to come. Yoonji watched him, not pressing, not pushing, just waiting. Jungkook looked away, fingers flexing against his knees. Why was this so hard? Silence stretched, but Yoonji didn't fill it. Instead, he simply leaned back in his chair, offering Jungkook space. Take your time, he said simply. Jungkook swallowed, exhaling slowly. Yoonji nodded, waiting. Jungkook curled his fingers together, staring at the floor before finally whispering, I don't know why I'm here. Yoonji hummed lightly, tilting his head, but you came anyway. Jungkook looked up, something about the way Yoonji framed it making him pause. Yoonji didn't seem surprised. Did he already know? No, not everything. But Jungkook noticed the flicker of recognition in Yoongi's eyes, the quiet way he had assessed him. He knew Jungkook wasn't just any client. Jungkook knew Yoonji recognized his name, probably linking him to his father, Mr. Jeon, one of Korea's biggest names in the automotive industry. But Yoonji didn't say it outright, didn't make him feel exposed. Instead, Yoonji simply folded his hands on the desk. Maybe we start with what made you book this appointment. Jungkook hesitated, the weight of Alex's words, of his own doubts crashing against him all at once. What if he distances? What if you lose him? No, Jungkook wouldn't let that happen. Taking a deep breath, he decided to open up. Jungkook exhaled slowly, his fingers tightening against his lap. This was harder than he expected. Yoonji didn't rush him, he simply leaned back, quiet, allowing the silence to settle without discomfort. Jungkook swallowed. I guess I booked this appointment because he hesitated. Yoonji nodded, encouraging him to continue. Because I'm afraid. The words left his lips before he could stop them. Yoongi's expression remained neutral, his gaze steady. Afraid of what? Jungkook ran a hand through his hair, his chest tightening. Losing someone. Yoonji hummed lightly, as if weighing the words carefully. Someone important? Jungkook looked down, his jaw tense. Tae. The name hung in the air, thick with meaning. Yoongi's eyes sharpened slightly, not with judgment, but understanding. And what makes you fear that? Jungkook struggled to put it into words. He loved Tae, there was no doubt about that, but loving him meant being vulnerable. It meant constantly battling the fear that one day, Tae might walk away. He took a deep breath. I guess, I've never been this close to someone before. Tae sees me, every part of me, and sometimes I think, what if he stops choosing me? Yoonji leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the desk. Has he given you any reason to believe he will? Jungkook hesitated. No, not really. Yoonji nodded, his tone thoughtful. Then why does the fear feel real? Jungkook bit his lip, the conversation pulling at emotions he wasn't ready to unravel. Someone said something to me, someone who knows Tae, who knows his past. Yoonji studied him carefully. And this person made you question Tae's feelings for you? Jungkook nodded, his voice quieter now. Yeah. Yoonji took a moment before speaking. It's interesting, isn't it? How easily someone else's words can shake what we know to be true. Jungkook looked up, blinking at the simplicity of the statement. Yoonji continued, what do you know to be true? Jungkook inhaled deeply. That Tae loves me. Yoonji smiled slightly. And what do you fear? Jungkook clenched his fists. That I'm not enough. That love isn't always permanent. Yoonji sat back, letting that settle. Love evolves, Jungkook, it shifts, grows, but permanence comes from something deeper than excitement or passion. It comes from mutual understanding, respect, the willingness to choose each other even when things aren't perfect. Jungkook's breath hitched slightly. Yoongi's voice was calm, certain. So instead of questioning Tae's feelings, maybe ask yourself, do you trust him? Jungkook's mind raced. He did, didn't he? But trust meant surrendering the fear. Jungkook swallowed hard. I want to. Yoonji nodded knowingly. That's a start. Jungkook exhaled slowly, feeling a weight ease from his chest. The conversation had pulled apart his fears, exposing them one by one, but in the process, something lighter settled inside him. Relief. Yoonji watched him carefully, recognizing the shift. You don't need my help, Jungkook. His voice was steady, reassuring. But anytime you feel that way, you can ring me directly, or come see me. Don't wait for an appointment. Jungkook nodded, taking in the offer, letting it sit with him. Then, Yoonji tilted his head slightly, something curious flickering in his eyes. May I know who this Tae is? The man who has your mind in knots? A pause. Jungkook's fingers curled slightly against his lap. I'd like to keep that private for now. Yoonji smiled, accepting the answer without pressing further. Fair enough. A beat of silence passed before Yoonji leaned forward slightly, his tone shifting gentle, but clear. You want my advice? Jungkook looked up, waiting. Initiate the conversation. Call him, text him, keep the connection strong. Yoongi's voice was calm but purposeful. But don't push too hard, give him room to breathe. Jungkook swallowed, nodding slowly. Be there for him, let him feel your presence. Yoongi offered a small smile. I don't know who he is, but I can already tell he wouldn't be able to afford losing a person like you. Jungkook blinked, his chest tightening slightly, not with doubt this time, but something softer. Hope. He stood, offering Yoongi a small bow. Thank you, really. Yoongi nodded, waving a hand casually. Go on then, you have things to figure out. And with that, Jungkook stepped out, the fresh air greeting him as he pulled out his phone, his fingers hovering over Tae's name. Jungkook stood by his car, fingers gripping his phone as he stared at Tae's contact name on the screen. His thumb hovered over the call button for a moment before finally pressing it. The line rang once, twice, then voicemail. A hollow feeling spread through his chest, suffocating in its quiet intensity. What was he expecting? That Tae would answer instantly? That he would drop everything for him? How childish. Jungkook exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. He knew how busy Tae could get. He had lived that life once himself, where meetings swallowed up hours and responsibilities left little room for anything else, but somehow, when it came to Tae, he just couldn't accept it. He needed him. But did needing him this much mean something was wrong with him? Voice cut through his thoughts, steady and casual. You still here? Jungkook turned to find Yoongi stepping out of his clinic, hands tucked in his pockets, eyes mildly curious but unintrusive. Jungkook forced a small smile. Yeah, just needed a moment. Yoongi observed him briefly, then nodded. You seem free enough. Come join me for a coffee. He gestured toward a cafe just across the street. Jungkook hesitated. Yoongi raised a brow, pressing lightly. At least we share the same language, the same country. That's got to be worth something, right? A pause, then, with a knowing smirk, he added, I'll tell you about my love story. Jungkook blinked, amusement flickering in his tired gaze. Finally, he let out a breath and nodded, slipping his phone into his pocket. All right, why not? And with that, he followed Yoongi toward the cafe, welcomed by the promise of conversation and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of clarity.